Hey everyone, how you doing? Hope your Friday is a good one. It is the strong end of the week. And hey, it's summertime up here in this part of the hemisphere. And Julie, I'll tell you, that's his dedication. Everyone say hello to Julie. She is watching down under from Queensland, I believe. And hey, girl, it's early, but thank you for being here. We love your energy. We love everyone's energy. Franny, good to see you. I just want to welcome everybody. I mean, it's a full house in here. David, how are you? Joanne, good to see you. Lost in Space. Peter, good to see you. Casey, EO, good to see you, my friend. Ricardo, holy cow. Gilbert, good to see you. Joe Sapiens, how you doing? Richard, Rain Silverwand. I like that. Universal. How are you as well? Twisted Isby, I love it. David, good to see you. T-Cat, peace, man. And Doris, hello from California. Good gracious. Hello, Rex Emperor, good to see you. Sale Chaos, Hadley, good to see you. Susan, Lady Gray Raven, good to see you, my dear. So happy to see you. Karen, peace, girl. How are you? Think Agape Love always. Man, that's as far out. Marguerite, good to see you as well. And Moonlight Herbalist, love that. Good morning or good afternoon, whatever the case may be. It's somewhere. Consciously watching, good to see you as well. Lisa, just trying to say hello to everybody that I can see here. Holly Baker, good to see you. Cindy B, 1675, I like that. Let me just invoke favor on everyone. Man, I'll tell you, can't get enough of it. It's one of those things. I like chocolate. Never get enough of chocolate. But just invoking great favor on your life this day. May favor find you in the most meaningful way today. And may there be an abundance of supply in your life. And may there be complete restoration. That which the cankerworm has devoured, may it be returned back to you sevenfold. Nothing missing, nothing broken. Hey, that's just how we roll here. There's people who don't like the subject sometimes, and that's cool. Like what Source says, it rings in your consciousness. Everyone has a point of view. If you can live with that, then everything's kind of cool. You listen and you vibrate with it. Connect, cool. Nothing wrong with that. So got a lot to cover here. I love this subject, but we're not going to forget our affirmations. So thanks to Peter, who is our wizard in wordsmithing and word magic. I love it. Not going to put it up because I have so many files open, but I will read it. And this is the new condensed version where, actually I have my sigil there. Important that you sign this. And as Al pointed out, that's when I sign my name, I sign it cursively. Isn't that odd? And legally, you have to do that same way, but I digress. So we acknowledge that the infinite, the divine creator, whatever you want to say that is, we recognize as the only source for all of our wants and needs. And thus we affirm that every word, thought, and action which goes forth from us shall not return unto us void without producing any consequence. If you don't have the Hermetic principles, let me know. I'll send them to you. Very easy to focus in on. But shall accomplish that which I intended. Intent. Hey, listen, the Pope changed a prayer that apparently this supposed Savior said 2,000 years ago. So much for the sanctity of words. Anyway, I digress. It shall produce the results which I willed it. Then it will dwell within me until sent forth once again. I am conscious, aware of these truths, which provide all of our physical and spiritual support. Thus we speak forth as This is not only an invocation, it's an affirmation of what we're building here. That the infinite being, that creator, is lavish and limitless. I just love that. If no matter what your concept of God is, it would have to be limitless, boundless, nothing. And how would it be anything less than lavish? How would it be anything less than complete abundance? I studied this for decades, folks. Someday I'll go into a whole dissertation on the Gospel of John and why that book that's a magic book, I'm telling you. But there are some things in there about invocations. Very interesting. 13th through the 17th chapters, but I digress. So that infinite being, that creator that lives in each and every one of us is limitless. And inasmuch that it dwells within us, then that says that within us, abundance flows freely, eternally. Restoration is ongoing. All of our needs are instantly met. The manifestations of our thoughts are constantly forming. And that power that resides, that divine spirit of the Creator, guess what? You should have no unfulfilled desires or wants. Again, getting back to a lot of my Judeo-Christian studies over many decades, was that the thing about Abraham, and I always liked it, it was kind of a cool thing. He died well satisfied. He also picked the day of his own death, his very second. And that's a subject for another time. But in any case, may that be the case for you. Or I love it. I mean, it's better than cussing you out, isn't it? Bazinga! That's what I say. All right. Astral travel. My first remembrance of astral travel, being outside my physical body, knowing that, I was living in Santa Clara in 1960, 5 years old. And throughout my childhood, there were many instances, that one, of where I can remember coexisting in two different realities. Sounds strange, and for a child, it was a little unnerving. But then, due to events in my life, it abated. But in certain times in my early adolescent years, there were more of these incidents. And to be candid with you, because of the life environment I was in, they provided a place of refuge for me. Now, I didn't know that what they called that would be astral projecting, astral traveling, lucid dreaming, however you want to define it, but I remember this distinctly. Then when I began to experiment with LSD in 1970, I began, and it's odd, in my meditation today, this thought came to me. And oddly enough, as I begin to even think about it now as I'm talking to you, there is some, and even Timothy Leary, in many of his talks, as much said this way. Carl Sagan said it much the same way. There is that belief that those of us who have taken LSD and have, in fact, literally left our bodies behind and traveled that astral highway, there is some that say we never came back. There is a belief that if you have taken hallucinogenics and particularly experienced an out-of-body experience while under the effects of the toxin. Yeah. Now, that's just a theory. But you have to give thought to it, because what lysergic diethylamide does for you is it opens parts of our brains. My brain is probably not the same brain that I was born with, and we all change. But what I mean, these experiences. So I can remember the first experience I ever had. The thing that got me was it's akin to the same feeling that's generated where you have a orgasm from. And my first time, I can remember that energy in that region, the solar plexus, that whole mid region of the feeling of, I don't know, it wasn't speed so much, but it was a different energy. And great, thanks, Josh. Appreciate that, buddy. So you're back. Yeah, yeah. And I agree with you, Richard. It's just a theory, and it's said that that's why some people can't handle hallucinogenics. Is that because it separates you real quick? But let's get on with this. So, in my lifetime, there have been times when I just literally was out there. I have been visited. Some would say I saw them as angels, but I see them now as more spirits. That's why we're here, folks. Many of us are of this same intuition, the same intuitives. We've been here, and this is why many of us find ourselves here. We're drawn here because, this resonates. And my experiences have just shown that this is real. I've been out there without the effects of a hallucinogenic. I've gotten to the point now where I realize much of my dream time, I am in other places. And modern science is beginning to validate that. The brain, as we read that report, it could come in and 11 different dimensions at the same time. Maybe that's why we have this partition. Those of you in the IT industry, so we're partitioning our server off, and we firewalled it, and we can't get access to the memory files over here because it's in another dimension. We can only access that which is allowed here. And who knows, maybe we have the same issues. If you take the theory and you extrapolate it, it would mean that, in essence, we're coexisting in many different dimensions at the same time. And I contend that astral travel is, I think, the unification of the spirit in those moments. I have had some interesting, I don't talk about it because most people think you're batshit crazy. I just do. Like, well, where the hell did you come from? Well, listen, I've been out there on the astral plane. And I guess as I look back, I took well over 100 hits of acid in a 1-year period of time. It got to be very normal. And I guess in a lot of ways, as I sit here talking to you now, I kind of miss it. And I think that that's kind of where death leads us, into that whole other realm. And it's just the way it is. Well, thank you, Richard. Appreciate that. So I got a lot of good stuff. People want to know how. I think that's the one thing people ask. So I did find a website that will help us. And then we're going to get into some great, great books here. All right. How to perform astral projection. It is what we call an OBE, out of body experience. And so let's just get to the nitty gritty here. So in preparing, now we're going to be reading some other great knowledgeable books on this, but this is a good primer. You always have to prime the engine when it's never been started. Think about that. Start in the morning. Rather than practicing astral projection at night, right before you go to sleep, start in the early morning hours when you're still feeling drowsy. Folks, I can't tell you. Those of you who know what I'm speaking of, that 3 to 4 o'clock time period, we wake up. Why? It's because, I don't know if you know this, but it's actually been known all the way back to the Mesopotamians, the Chaldeans, that and probably the Sumerians as well, if I recall correctly. That 3 a.m. hour, it's the hour which in occultism and most religions, that the physical realm here and the spiritual realm that we are immersed in, but separated by a veil, when they actually have the membrane comes closest enough that they can in fact be pierced. So you think about that now, when you wake up early, now you have a new exercise. So some say it is easier to reach the necessary state of relaxation and heightened awareness around dawn. Yet it's possible to astral travel at any time, so there are no hard and fast rules. I'll be candid with you. I have a period during the afternoon, and when I ran my companies, there were rooms where my employees could go, and I'd give them 30 minutes. If some needed an hour, it didn't matter to me. But they could go in and practice deep relaxation meditation. I had the chairs, and many of them, great productivity. You come out of that. I can do the power nap in 10 minutes and have enough revitalization of energy and memory to go for another 8+ hours. So, just remember that. It's really a personal preference, or simply astral traveling when you feel empowered to do it. I know some people that actually that live in the city, New York City specifically, where they have to take mass transit. And I don't care what anyone says, mass transit sucks. It does. You know, you're particularly if you're empathic. I mean, you're with so many people. And you can actually be in this bifurcated state of consciousness. It's pretty far out. All right, so let's continue. 2, create the right atmosphere. Astral projection requires a state of deep relaxation, so it should be performed in a part of your home where you're completely comfortable. Lie in your bed or sofa and relax your mind and body. I'll just say this: if it doesn't, brush you the wrong way, try doing it without any clothes on, doing it in the nude. So obviously, privacy is necessary, but that's just my take. Lie on your bed or sofa, relax your mind and body. It's easier to perform astral projection alone than it is with someone else in the room. And there's a reason for it. That energy will interfere. It's very difficult. If you usually sleep with a partner, choose a room other than the bedroom to practice astral projection. A good time to do it is when no one else is in, and make sure no one is going to walk into the room when you're in astral flight. Draw the shades or curtains and rid the room of distracting noises. Turn off all Wi-Fi, get everything, make it a room of sanctuary. No electronics. Any type of interruption could disrupt the state of relaxation that you'll need to activate. Number 3, lie down and relax. Position yourself on your back in your chosen room. Close your eyes and try to clear your mind of distracting thoughts. That's why practicing creating the white dot. I'm giving you hints here, folks. I'm trying to help you. But you start being able to control the white dot, this will be able to connect very quickly. Concentrate on your body and how it feels. The goal is to achieve a state of complete mind and body relaxation. Flex your muscles and then loosen them. Start with your toes and work your way up your body. This is a standard relaxation technique. We taught it in sales, and it works. Gradually making your way to your head. Make sure every muscle is completely relaxed when you are through. Breathe deeply and exhale completely. Don't hold tension in your chest and shoulders, just relax. And for many of you, if you've never done this before, it's going to take some getting into, because most people walk with such tension in the muscular structure of their bodies that you'd be surprised how much energy it takes for your body to consistently compensate for that tension. And some of it becomes chronic. Focus your mind on your breathing. Don't get carried away with thoughts of outside worries, and don't get preoccupied yet with the idea of your soul projecting from your body. Just let yourself sink into relaxation. It can be helpful to use a quartz crystal to raise and speed up your vibrations as preparation. Gently hold the crystal on your third eye, slightly above the center of your eyebrows, with closed eyes and breathing deeply. Feel the vibrations of your head clearing. You can envision golden, white, purple, or in any color light that you like. During the meditation and astral traveling, you can hold the crystal in your hand or place it in your chest or abdomen. The crystal will empower and protect you because of the high vibrations. The negative energies have lower vibrations. So, moving the soul from the body. Reach the hypnotic state. This hypnotic state is normally known as the hypnagogic state. Let your body and mind approach sleep, but don't completely lose consciousness. Being at the edge of wakefulness and sleep, it's a kind of a hypnotic state of mind. It is necessary for astral projecting to occur. Reach this state using the following method. Keeping your eyes closed, let your mind wander to a part of your body, such as your hand, a foot, or a single toe. Focus on the body part until you can visualize it perfectly, even with your eyes closed. Continued focusing until all other thoughts fall away. Use your mind to relax your body part, but do not physically move it. Visualize your toes curling and uncurling and your fingers clenching and unclenching. Some of you are doing it right now, until it seems as though you are physically moving them. Broaden your focus to the rest of your body. Move your legs, your arms, your head, using only your mind. Keep your focus steady until you're able to move your whole body in your mind alone. This is where Franz's book really comes in. Enter the state of vibration. Many report feeling vibrations, which come in waves at different frequencies as the soul prepares to leave the body. Don't be afraid of the vibrations. Now, some people do get afraid. Some people have reported actually the first couple of times actually experiencing almost panic attacks. Since the presence of fear might cause you to leave your meditative state. Instead, succumb to the vibrations as your soul prepares you to leave your body. So let me tell you how this can be done. When when you've reached this state, and I'll give you a key, see yourself falling off a diving board. I see myself falling backwards. And just give into it. It's far out, tell you. Use your mind to move your soul from your body. Imagine your mind, the room in which you are lying. Move your body in your mind to stand up. Look around yourself. Get up off the bed and walk across the room. Then turn around and look at your own body on the bed. Your OBE is successful if you feel as though you are gazing upon your body from across the room, and that your conscious self is now separated from your body. It takes a lot of practice to get to this point for some people, though others often come naturally as breathing. Either way, it is possible for everyone if it's a desire and practiced enough. Remember, you have to have the desire. The more intense the desire, the more easier you can actually bridge this. Lifting, if you have trouble completely lifting your soul from your body, try lifting a hand or a leg at first. Keep practicing until you're able to move across the room. Returning to your body, your soul always remains connected to your body with an invisible force. Some call it a silver thread. It's there. That's all I can tell you. Some refer to it as the silver cord. Let the force guide your soul back to your body, re-enter your body, move your fingers and toes physically, not just in your mind, and let yourself regain full consciousness. So I'm going to move on here because we've got some other great things. So I'll leave this link to this website, and it goes on to how you explore the plane, but I want to get into a little more deeper, complete instructions on how to return back. Many religions, I think primarily modern day Christianity teaches that this is, somehow evil. No, I mean, it's the same thing in a meditative state. Mystics, oracles, magi's, sorcerers, witches, intuitives, adapts, whatever you want to call it, we have the natural ability to do this. And I just tell to those who would argue against, I'm just going to use the Boy Scout motto. Be prepared. I don't understand the argument against exploring the spirit realm. We're all going to die by the definition of these bodies. The spirit doesn't die, the soul doesn't die. So many people have become lulled into this false sense of security, a false reality, that you're going to have a welcoming committee that's going to show you the whole ropes. Let's hope you do have a welcoming committee. But guess what, folks? You didn't get it here in this physical plane. We just had a new grandson born, and it was, remarkable, again, to realize that this soul, this spirit, is here. It's in the body. And we got a picture of just the most, right when he was born, poor little fella, his face was all swollen. But Yeah, we would be too. We've talked about that enough. But then we got a picture about an hour later when he was mama. And, you know, boy, if there was ever a look of tranquility, that's it. So my point is this: at your moment of your death, however you're going to die, however your consciousness is going to leave your body, you're going to experience it. And I can tell you, sweetheart, you're going to feel it. And if you are versed and trained enough, the transition will be just that, a transition, and not a frightening event. So, having said that, let's continue. I've told this before, I've met beings over there. They weren't human. They weren't of my species, but nevertheless, they're there. When I was 17, I was almost murdered by a group of Satanists, believe it or not. Interesting thing. But I remember when they were taking me out to do me in, and the guy in the front seat, I'll never forget this, he turned around and his eyes just went whacked out, and he says, "We can't touch this dude." And of course, people in the back that were having me in there were saying, what the hell are you talking about? And he says, "Man, the guy's marked. He's marked." He kept pointing right here. He said, he's got a mark there. So there's a mark. Now, whatever, obviously I didn't die that night. And so there are some things that you begin to understand. We live in a world of magic, folks. You just don't know it. So let's get into some great material here. I have all of these on PDFs, if any of you want them. This one here is called Traveling in the Spiritual Realm. This book, several hundred years old, several of them, some of them are very newer. The Spiritual Approach of Out-of-Body Experience. Now, this book introduces the concept of spiritual travel. Spiritual travel is a form of out-of-body experience done voluntarily to achieve a spiritual goal. In order to have an out-of-body experience, the soul or consciousness of the individual must temporarily leave the physical body. During out-of-body experience, the physical senses shut down. When this occurs, an entirely new world opens up to the individual. Spiritual travel is a special type of out-of-body experience where the individual's awareness is heightened and he or she is able to make decisions and direct the experience. The spectrum of experience afforded by spiritual travel is very broad and can include a wide variety of psychic and spiritual states. In most cases, the spiritual traveler is able to clearly remember the experiences and learn from them. Spiritual travel is sometimes called transcendent or ecstatic experience because it deals with the inner senses rather than the physical senses. It also deals with states of being seemingly independent of the physical world. The purpose of spiritual travel. The goal of spiritual travel is mystical and transcendent religious experience. Think of how many yogis. It's why people marvel. They can go and come back and not even be fazed by what's around them. The reason for an interest in spiritual travel is that it provides a unique means of approaching these distant and extraordinary states of a religious awareness. Now, if that word offends you, put in whatever you want. Conscious awareness doesn't, spiritual awareness. It does this by exposing the spiritual seeker to a series of lessons about the nature of identity and the freedom of the soul to travel in various non-physical environments. These lessons gradually introduce the spiritual traveler to a variety of psychic and spiritual states containing increasing degrees of individual freedom and spiritual awareness. In addition, spiritual travel provides an inner laboratory where the seeker can experiment with techniques and modes and methods of moving through the more limited psychic states of awareness and into these distant spiritual realms. Now, this book goes on and talks about the near-death experience as a limited form of spiritual travel. Now, I've experienced 5 of them in my lifetime. Many of you have as well. I'd probably say if we took a poll, many of us listening to this have had the NDE. So you're already versed to the process. It says the one common form of spiritual travel seen in the modern West is near-death experience. The concept of near-death experience was developed by Dr. Raymond Moody Jr. in his book, Life After Death in 1975. In near-death experience, a person comes close to death due to sickness or injury, and the person's soul temporarily leaves the physical body. In the early stages of a near-death experience, the spiritual traveler usually views his or her lifeless body and the surrounding physical environment from a short distance away. This is usually followed by a shift of awareness to a non-physical environment in the later stages of the experience where the traveler encounters a spiritual guide or being of light. Near-death experience is a limited form of spiritual travel in 3 respects. First, it occurs spontaneously as a result of a medical crisis rather than voluntarily as part of a spiritual search. Second, though the individual seems to exercise some control over the out-of-body movements in the physical environment, the more religious and otherworldly elements of the experience are usually controlled by some outside force, such as a guide. This guide directs the near-death experience without any request or permission from the traveler, who has little power over what occurs. Third, near-death experience, while many times uplifting and life-changing, is usually limited to a series of repeating states or stages and is not as broad or wide-ranging as spiritual travel experience. So that kind of gives you, this is a great PDF. One of the ones I did highlight in here, because I thought it was really very interesting how he broadens charge symbols. Paul Tillich, the 20th century Protestant theologian, defined a symbol as something that points beyond itself. Folks, this is all tied in. Sigils, everything that we learned this week and will continue to learn. I just did a sigil ceremony this morning, and powerful. Symbols are unique mental objects which have no fixed reference. They can be contrasted with signs which have fixed meanings. Symbols are described as layered, multivalent, multidimensional, multivocal Victor Turner terms. Their personal meaning and interpretations involved to reflect the evolution of the individual and the meaning of cultural symbols that are shared by evolved as the culture changes. And it gets into the whole thing of how the cross, got hijacked, but how it became the symbol for Christians. And this is a great book. check it out. And I want to continue because there's some other great books here I want to get into as well. Let's see. We'll say yes on that. So this book here is called The Essential Guide to Consciousness Astral Projection. Again, this is one that adds to it. I think that you will find that this is, by the way, show you that pretty cool when you think about this. So this is the Ike's Essential Guide to Consciousness and Out-of-Body Experience. Again, we're all going to face this, folks. I mean, we've got to get out of this fear factor. These bodies are marvelous pieces of engineering, but there's something so much greater that has been hidden within these bodies, and that's your spirit, soul, whatever it is. And it's knows that its real existence, state of being, is outside the body. So this is a cool one. It goes on to talk about what they have actually come up in new studies, universities, governments, DARPA, military. They have been doing this for decades. Remote viewing is another form of astral traveling. And this is why the experiments, I was with a group in 1970 that we were part of a group that you could call it, we were guinea pigs. I didn't see it that way. Anyway, they knew the ability that if a person could be trained, disciplined enough in their mental conscious state, that when they learned how to separate the spirit essence, the soul, the consciousness, from the body, you can have a spy in Moscow sitting right there with Putin, and the Russians know it as well. Yeah, they did a movie on it, Men Who Stare at Goats. It's the same process. It's this is another good read. It's one that if you're really wanting to learn, this is a great book to study. This is some of the key benefits of an out-of-a-body experience, all right? The OBE, irrefutable personal evidence of life after death. That's why I'm so fascinated with the subject. It's like, all right, this is the inevitable conclusion. As they say, no one gets out alive in this realm. And so the fact that I can actually do this, I've experienced this, has told me decades ago, hey, Steiger, when I almost died of the meningitis and the Lyme disease, I was in a coma. And obviously, I wasn't with my body. I don't remember anything. And it's something that I have meditated on quite a bit. I'm convinced that my part of the essence just separated itself from the body. The body was very sick and needed to be, healed to get there. Anyway, excursions to places in both the physical and non-physical dimensions, encounters with persons, including friends and family who have passed away, recall of the plan of action, the purpose for this life that was established prior to being born, increase the parapsychotic, I can think that, parapsychic abilities, extrasensory perception, energetic self-control, and personal energetic defenses. I grew up on the street. I learned very quickly two things. My mind was sharper than most guys' bigger bodies. Their minds were pliable. And I learned very quickly that either I was going to have to outthink them or I was going to have to get a bigger stick. And I didn't dig violence. So I choose the more other way. Awareness of energetic interactions with physical and non-physical individuals. Assistance to those in need through the transmission of therapeutic energies while outside the body. Do you know you can actually place someone, best if you have a picture of them, and as you get experience enough, I've had it happen to me. I've known that there have been energies of people in this group that I'm convinced that you can actually heal other people in the spirit realm. It's I know people don't want to believe it, but it's true. Direct communication with involved non-physical individuals whose presence the great majority of people are not able to perceive. Recall of past lives, expansion of self-knowledge, and acceleration of the process of maturing of the consciousness. Yeah. Let's continue. Told you I had some great books here for you. Now, this one is Astral Projection, a Complete Guide by an Unknown Author. I thought this was interesting. There are certain aspects of the astral dimension and the projection process that are very complicated. Much of it is misunderstood, and it can all be very confusing at times. This series of articles attempts to shed a little light on the subject and hopefully explain what it is all about. The theories and the conclusions in this treatise are largely drawn from my own projection experience. You know, when I'm looking for a guide, I don't want someone where it's the first day on the job. Seriously. It's like, no, I don't want that. You want an experience guide, you know? Like, have you been here before? Yeah, all my life. That's the type of guide you want. It is the goal of this treatise, and I love how you wrote the fact that it's a treatise. So, you know, this is serious. To develop greater understanding and new, simpler, and more effective techniques for projection. The ideas, theories, and techniques discussed here are constantly under development and are subject to modification and change as new discoveries and insights come to light. Now, the reason why I did that, because this has been known through the occult, magicians, sorcerers, witches. I think it was natural to us. I think it comes natural to us. But through the fear doctrine, primarily through religious ideologies, this has been suppressed. It's been taught, and it's in so far in the Western psyche, so bad that the vast majority of people just walk away from this. They call it, you know, that's magic. That's sinful. That's of the devil. Trust me, it's not. This is Richard Webster's Astral Travel for Beginners. Good book. You can buy it on Amazon, but I do have the PDF copy. I like what he starts right out here. He says, astral projection is based on the fact that we possess two bodies. The physical body that grows, matures, and finally dies. And the astral body, which is a double of the physical body. It is this astral body that can at times detach itself from the physical body and move away, bearing with it the person's consciousness. In effect, when this occurs, the person is living in the astral body and can look calmly and in a detached manner at the physical body he or she has just left. There are many benefits of being able to astral travel. You will see the world through different eyes. Yeah. Have you ever asked yourself, how does a spirit see? Most people who say they see spirits say that they have eyes. How's that working out? Anyway, I digress. Most importantly, once you have found that your consciousness can live apart from the physical body, you will realize that your soul can live on, no matter what happens to your physical body. This means that death is not the end, and in fact marks just the start of an even greater adventure. He goes on to say that most of my students found it relatively easy to learn how to astral travel. However, a number of them experienced difficulties. There was always a reason for this. Fear was by far the most common case of failure. We have all experienced fear at times and know how crippling it can be. Many years ago, I was with a group of people who went bungee jumping. Yeah, that'll certainly cure you of your fear of heights and falling. I used to do a lot of rappelling. I loved it. And anyway, we were all keen to do it. And the few who had done it before kept telling us what a wonderful experience it is. Like your head, no way. I have seen people pee their pants. However, when we stood at the top of the bridge and looked down at the river far below, I am sure all of us felt a little bit scared. Funnily enough, some of the most nervous people volunteered to go first because they wanted to get it out of the way. I will never forget the feeling in my stomach just before I jumped. Great book here, folks. Again, I'm just small snippets. This is a subject that we will get into further depth on it. Getting Dr. Doc Ram, Richard Allen Miller to come on. He has a lot of experience in this area. This one is a far out book. It's called The Phase, and it's a practical guide for lucid dreaming and out-of-body travel. A free ebook. You can buy it as well. And it's a cool book. I tell you, you're going to love it. I'll just read the foreword. I believe that everybody is going to exist in two worlds soon. The practice of phase states of mind is the hottest and most promising pursuit of the modern age. Unlike in the past, the notions of out-of-body experience and astral projection have already lost their mystical halo, and their real basis has been studied in minute detail from the most non-nonsense approach. Now, this phenomenon is accessible to everyone, regardless of their worldview. It is now known how to easily master it and apply it effectively. This guidebook is the result of 10 years of extremely active personal practice and study of the out-of-body phenomenon, the phase. I love that term. Coupled with having successfully taught it to thousands of people, I know all of the obstacles and problems that are usually run into when getting to know this phenomenon, and have tried to protect future practitioners from them in this handbook. Again, don't have enough time. We may very well get into another study. This is a cool book. Shows you exactly your first 5 attempts in the first 1 to 3 days, you're going to be hitting it about 50-50. In the next 6 to 10 days attempts, days 2 through 7, you're going to get better, 80%. And finally, in the last 3 to 14 days, you will be hitting nearly 90% every time. It kind of tells you the whole thing with lucid dreaming. Again, this membrane is what I call it. It's what I was taught. We have the ability, so do other energies, to literally move through them. So if you want it, let me know. And finally, the art and practice of astral projection. This is a no-nonsense kind of book. The person who wrote this one, I really enjoyed. It's a nonsensical, but it's also very in-depth learning. So I'm going to stop there because this has just been so far out. Pretty cool, though, isn't it? So if you really want, I'm trying to get you guys caught up, you know? People get sometimes some of the weirdest emails, yeah, anyway, I digress. So we can do this. And why not? They say that in the golden age, that man and gods walked together. They said that man had the ability to walk with the other spirits. And the other spirits manifested themselves in many different forms, many different shapes, and in many different ways. And that we saw within every kingdom the spiritual energy from each one of those kingdoms. Plant, animal. And then it says that we lost that. Maybe that's where the whole fall of man comes from. And yes, thank you, Lola. Joy, thank you. That's very kind of you. So we lost that. And, I have to give credit to the ones who pioneered these paths for us today. Science is now caught up to, eventually, I'm going to tell you, they're going to make a U-turn. Einstein was wrong. Einstein could never get the unified theory. And it's led us for nearly 50, 67, nearly 100 years down the wrong path of science. Mark my words. And, Dr. Miller stated this last year when we met. He said, the next frontier of science is magic. I think that the tech giants have now realized this. I think that this may be our one single defense against AI, against anything artificial, manufactured. I believe that by practicing astral projection, learning how to become lucid in your dreaming, that you will be able to have a place of refuge, a strength that no machine, no program, no algorithm, no social media can ever touch. And what's wrong with that? Anyway, far out. Well, thank you, Hermetic Truth. And I appreciate that. Sometimes that's just what you're called to do. Why it's natural, as they would say. Well, all right, folks, have yourself a strong end of the week. Enjoy it. It's your days. Absorb it, savor it. And I'll see you on Sunday over on Jeff Doherty's channel on the Christian Whistleblower. And we'll be back here on Monday. We're going to continue on with this, folks. Astral projection, this is just the start. We're going to continue with Agrippa's work, continue with Franz's book. We're maturing at a rate that where we can start taking these next steps of really ratcheting it up. I think it's cool. Anyway, all right. Much love to you. Love yourself. When you find out in your spirit form, the more you love yourself, it's more of the color that your spirit will take on. And other spirits see it. You'd be surprised what color actually plays. The question that I've asked, what color is your soul? We're going to get onto that next week. Think about it this week. What color is your soul? All right, folks, have a good one. We will see you later. All right, bye-bye.